Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining me for my daily Come Follow Me study of the Book of Mormon. Today is Friday the 7th, and we're going to start with the daily reflection on the Book of Mormon. The time cometh, and is not far distant, with the power the Lord omnipotent who reigneth, who was and is from all eternity to all eternity, shall come down from heaven among the children of men, and shall dwell in a tabernacle of clay, and shall go forth amongst men, working mighty miracles. Mosiah chapter 3, verse 5. King Benjamin set forth a series of powerful teachings made known to him by an angel of God. Central to all that King Benjamin conveyed is the doctrine of the incarnation, the condescension of God. Benjamin explained that the Lord omnipotent, the great Jehovah, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, would choose to leave his divine throne, set aside his glory for a season, and dwell among the children of men, because he would take a physical body. He would come to know the pains and sicknesses and temptations and frustrations and infirmities of the flesh, and experience necessary for him to gain complete empathy with mere mortals. Jesus was thereby enabled to consecrate himself as a substitutionary offering for all humankind. Jesus Christ becomes our advocate with the Father, one who knows the weakness of man and how to succor them who are tempted. Thoughts, but no complete ideas to share with you. So, today is Alma chapter 2, verses 20 through 38. We're still in this battle between the Amlicites and the Nephites, but in this, they're fleeing from the Nephites because they're winning. Or no. The Nephites are chasing them, and the spies that were sent out to watch the Amlicites, they come running back and they're like, they joined up with the Lamanites and they are sweeping through the land. And so they catch up to them in a battle. Alma meets Amlici in battle. And it came to pass that Alma, being a man of God, being exercised with much faith, cried, saying, O Lord, have mercy and spare my life, that I may be an instrument in thy hands to save and preserve this people. And now when Alma had said these words, he contended again with Amlici, and he was strengthened, insomuch that he slew Amlici with the sword. And then he goes on to continue to battle with the king of the Lamanites, who retreats from him. Battle, fighting. They throw the dead bodies in the river, and the Lamanites and Amlicites flee into the wilderness, and they're injured or eaten in the wilderness. That's where the chapter ends. Again, I didn't necessarily find a faith verse, but I suppose you could take the verses I read. Naomi yesterday, she did a really good job at finding peace in the chapter. So if we take the verses I read, verses 30 and 31, you could say that when there is no peace, when you strive for peace, you establish peace, but when people won't leave you alone, won't give you that peace, in the strength of the Lord, if it is his will, he can help you to contend with those enemies, trying to bring peace back again. We could look at it that way. I think that's okay. let's get into our commentary. Okay. In the colossal battle that ensues, the people of God, under command of Alma, prevail for two principal reasons. Because of their careful preparations, and because the Lord strengthens their hand, they are on the side of right. They fight to defend their lives and freedoms in accordance with correct principles. What hope is there in the face of an enemy as numerous as the sands of the sea? The only hope is in the Lord, and that is where the Nephites place their faith and trust. The people of God pray earnestly for the help of God, and He hears their prayers and strengthens them so that they can prevail. Who are our enemies today? What are the forces against which we must contend? We can apply the example of Alma and his followers by appealing to the Lord in humility for strength to overcome and preserve the right. It is a dramatic moment when Alma fights Amlici. Alma himself comes up against Amlici face to face in mortal combat. It is a moment of importuning divine help. The Lord hears Alma's solemn prayer and strengthens him so that he can send Amlici to his just reward. The Lord then helps the Nephites repel the Lamanite hordes, and their confederates, at least for the time being. This example of Alma encourages us to seek the strength and wisdom sufficient to be worthy instruments in the Lord's hand for blessing and protecting our families and liberties. And then it gives an evidence about the name Hermounts. You know how I feel about that. Okay. Let's move on to our prayer. Okay. Today is Friday. Day 159. Neil A. Maxwell, the Spirit itself maketh intercession. Another gift of the Holy Ghost, often less appreciated and less explored, is how he can bless us by guiding our very prayers. Have not all of us, on occasion, puzzled beforehand over how to frame our petitions? Hence this candor and assurance. Likewise the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought, but the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings, sighings, which cannot be uttered. How often we need this very help with our prayers. For although we know we should pray, we are not always certain as to that which we should pray. Okay. General Conference goals. The name is still going well. Still need his counsel. I've done maybe 20, 25 interviews, and really only one, maybe two is sticking out. Several people didn't even show up for the interviews. I've got a few today. It's hard. Because when you're trying to hire somebody, you need somebody right away. But you don't want to make a mistake. Because when you're desperate, you get a desperate choice. Okay. Yep, that's where we're at. Okay. And the hymn, still not connecting to it. We'll try again next week. I mean, what can we do? Okay. Covenant book. An explanation. What's been said about what can be said. He says that he significantly researched the question of what we can and can't talk about about the temple, and he found that many church leaders are open about discussing the overall purposes of the endowment, and they repeatedly discuss the major covenants. They explain the endowment teaches the plan of salvation. Some have openly used specific temple phrases, but it is very personal, how they, like, personally inclined, how they publicly teach and what they I can't speak. Let me just read it. Individual church leaders do seem to vary, however, in how much they're personally inclined to publicly teach or say. In general, various statements from church leaders advise us to not be too casual when talking about the temple endowment and to avoid discussing sacred aspects and words of the ceremonies in detail. We can talk about the interior of the temple and our feelings about it. More recently, there has been encouragement to talk about the covenants of the temple, particularly before someone is entering for the first time, a welcome sign for this book. While these general guidelines can help, they sometimes leave members yet wondering where to draw the boundaries about discussing the endowment. And that, to me, was a little bit of like a cliffhanger. I was like, well, let's get into it a little bit more. But then it was 10:30, and I was like, I'm so grateful that this book has these itty-bitty little snippets where I can just read the little bit, and I feel good that I'm keeping my promises, but also it's not too much. And so the next bit appears to be long, and I was like, well, I want to hear it, I want to know, but we'll do that tonight. Go to bed early, read, that sort of thing. Okay, it's Friday. Let's have a great day, peeps. Okay. Let's end it with a read it, do it. It is the 7th. Alma chapter 2, they highlight verse 11. The Nephites were sometimes called the people of God. What do you think helped them earn that reputation? Live like that. That's not a bad one. I like that one. Okay. That was Alma chapter 2, verses 20 through 38, and tomorrow we do chapter 3. We will see you then. It's Friday!